Hello guys, and thank you for joining me today. In this lecture, we will focus on one of the most important questions in research life: where to publish our work. Up to now, we have discussed how to design a study and how to write a technical paper. Today, we move to the dissemination stage, publication stage. I will introduce different type of publication venues like journals, conferences, workshops, and others, and we will see how to evaluate their quality and suitability. We will also discuss the various metrics that are used to assess journals and conferences and how they should be used carefully, not blindly. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to select an appropriate venue for your own research project. Once your research is mature and you have a complete story, the next step is how to present it. We can publish it as a workshop contribution, as a conference paper, or a full journal article. Workshops are used for presenting early ideas. We can get feedback from workshops and we can make networking with a specialized community. Then we have conferences. These conferences are usually the main venue in many fields, especially in the field of computer science, and they are used for disseminating work in progress that is solid but still evolving. Finally, we have journals. Journals, in contrast, typically expect a more comprehensive and also validated study with strong experimental or theoretical support. So if this is your first paper, I suggest that you present your initial work at a workshop, and in workshop, you can get formative feedback. Then you can present it at a conference to get even more. And finally, you can submit it as a journal article. Throughout this lecture, I will highlight when it is more strategic to aim for a workshop, a conference, or a journal for your work. So, how to submit a paper, or what is the submission procedure for a paper? The submission process starts as finding a suitable journal or conference that matches the topic, scope, and level of your work. This is very, very important. If your work is very good and you submit it to a low journal or low conference, you sacrifice your work. If your work is not very good and you submit it to a very high level journal, then you waste your time because after 6 months, 9 months, or even 1 year, you will receive a rejection. So, how to select a good and suitable journal or conference is very important. Next, after selecting the venue, you must prepare your manuscript carefully by following author guidelines and templates, page limits, and ethical policies for the venue. Then we can submit our paper. Normally these days, every journal and conferences, they have online systems. Elsevier, it has own system. IEEE, it has own system. We have EasyChair, we have EDAS for conferences. Then we can submit our paper and then we wait for review comments. If they reject, then we cannot submit in that journal this paper anymore. We should think about other venues. If it is accepted, very good, congratulations. But if it got a revision, then we need to revise the manuscript and maybe in 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, then we submit it and finally, hopefully, to get an acceptance decision. During this period, it's important to track our paper in the submission system, and we respond professionally to reviewers and respect the timeline. So finally, if the paper is accepted, we have to, submit our final files, and when it is published, we can share and promote our work through academic network, social media, LinkedIn. We can, go share with professional contacts to maximize its visibility and impact. Publication venues can be broadly classified in two main categories: peer-reviewed or refereed and non-refereed. Refereed journals or refereed venues like journals, conferences, or workshops, they rely on external experts, or this peer that is here is experts. These experts like professors, postdocs, industry experts, they evaluate your work before it can be accepted. This peer review process is essential for maintaining scientific quality and credibility. So journals, conferences, and workshops, they send it for peer review. On the other side, we have non-refereed. So non-refereed outputs like white papers, technical reports, preprints, any text that you can post on the internet, they are non-refereed. It means no one evaluates them before you publish them. They do not necessarily undergo formal peer review, but they can still be very useful for communicating results repeatedly or to specific stakeholders. As an author, you should understand the difference in prestige, reliability, and career value between these categories when deciding where to publish. Scientific journals are the most important venue that you can publish your paper. Not all of them, but most of them are considered as the best venue to publish. So these scientific journals are periodic publications. Periodic, it means they are all once in a month, once in 2 months, once in 6 months, once in a year, right? They are periodic publications, and they are dedicated to advancing knowledge within a discipline by reporting new research. These scientific journals typically contain strictly peer-reviewed articles. Often they present more mature, truly validated work compared to conference paper or workshop papers. Many journals are highly specialized. They focus on narrow subfield, and we have also some multidisciplinary where they can cover a broad range of topics. For example, IEEE access. So publishing in reputable journals is often crucial for academic careers, promotions, and grant applications. So when you consider a journal, you should examine its scope, editorial board, review process, and reputation within your community. Later, we will see how to evaluate a journal, but the best practice is to talk with your professors, seniors, and other friends in your field. So the first one is JCR. We're going to understand how we can assess a journal's quality. JCR is one evaluation system that stands for Journal Citation Reports. This is a kind of like SCIE, Science Citation Index expanded. They list many of the most influential international journals in different fields. One of the key metrics they provide is impact factor, or IF in short. So this impact factor measures the average number of citations received per paper in a defined time window, that is normally 2 years. While impact factor is widely used, it is crucial to remember that it is a journal level metric, and it is not a direct indicator of the quality of any individual paper. It means you can't reliably say that all the papers published in the top journal are the best. No. Or you can't say that papers published in a low quality journal all are bad. No, right? In the very top journals, we have very bad papers and vice versa. So nevertheless, it is often used, sometimes too heavily, by institutions to assess journals and by the authors to choose targets. So we will see later why we must interpret it with care and in combination with other indicators. So the next question is, what is the impact factor, or IF? The impact factor is computed as the number of citations. So we want to find out impact factor for 2025 for a journal. What we do here, we count the number of citations to papers published in that journal in 2024 plus citation in 2023 divided by total number of published in 2023 and 2024. This is the impact factor of 2025 for a specific journal. In simple terms, this impact factor measures how often, on average, recent articles from the journal are cited. So, for example, if a journal has 400 citations in 2025 to the papers published in 2024 and 2023, and it published, for example, 50 papers in 2024 and 50 papers in 2023, then its impact factor is 4, right? 400 divided by 100. A high impact factor often suggests higher visibility, but does not necessarily mean every article in that journal is excellent. This is a big misunderstanding. Papers in a journal with high impact factor, they are not necessarily the best. Therefore, we should treat IF as one indicator among many other indicators that we have. We should not consider it as an absolute measure of quality. The next one is SJR, Scimago Journal Rank. This is another journal metric derived from Scopus data. Unlike the plain impact factor, SJR weighs citations by the prestige of the citing journal. So citations from highly ranked journals contribute more than those from low-ranked journals. It is conceptually similar to PageRank for web page, but applied to citation networks. SJR considers citation over 3 years window, and they provide a slightly longer term view of influence. So by considering both SJR and impact factor, we can have a more nuanced understanding of how a journal is positioned in the global research ecosystem. How to find a good journal that is suitable for our paper. As I said, the best thing is to talk with your seniors, your professor, and your friends in your field. But if you couldn't, you can refer to these websites and they can recommend you a journal. Choosing a journal is challenging, and we have these journal finder tools. They can help us, like IEEE, Elsevier, Wiley, Springer, and Taylor. They provide web tools where you can paste your title, abstract, or keyword, and these systems suggest candidate journal based on the topic similarity and citation patterns. These tools are normally useful for generating an initial list of possible venues that align with your research field. However, they should not replace your own judgment. You still need to check the scope, reputation, ranking, and openness of each suggested journal. You should think of these tools as assistants, not decision makers. When we talk about impact, we can consider three complementary perspectives: citation metrics, usage metrics, and altmetrics. First, citation metrics. These citation metrics capture how often the scholarly community reuses your work in their own paper. The next one is usage metrics. For example, download and page view. They can indicate how often people access your article, even if they do not formally cite your paper. And the next one is altmetric. These altmetrics track attention in the online world, indicating social media, news outlets, and blogs. None of these alone can fully describe impact, but together they form a richer picture of your research is received and disseminated. So H-index is the next topic that as a researcher you must be aware of it. H-index is designed to capture both productivity and citation impact for a researcher, for a journal, or even for an institution like universities. A scholar has an H-index of H, for example, if H of their publication each received at least H citation. For example, 20 implies that 20 papers with at least 20 citations. So as you can see here, for example, if the number of citations for each paper is 20 for each paper, and we publish 20 papers, then H-index is here as 20, right? So if we have like 21 papers, and now our citation is 21, all of the papers, all 21 papers must have at least 21. For example, if 10 of them are 1,000, right? Each one, 1,000. But the last one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 20, into the number 1 up to 20 here. The last one, 20, has 20, still your citation is 20. So when the next 21, this one got 21, this one got 21, and they should be more than 21, then your H-index will be 21. This H-index is particularly useful when comparing researchers of similar career length because it tends to increase over time. However, H-index can disadvantage early career researchers and does not distinguish between a few extremely highly cited papers and more evenly cited work. As with other metrics, it should be interpreted with context and caution. One point is here, again, one professor or one researcher with high H-index, it doesn't mean that he is a high knowledgeable person. H-core is the subset of publication that contribute to the H-index. For example, if a publication has 5 articles with citation like, for example, 17, 9, 6, and 3 and 2, the H-index is 3. And the core consists of the 3 papers cited like 17, 9, and 6 times. And it has the H-core with 3 articles, 17, 9, and 6. This concept helps you to focus on the most influential portion of the output. In evaluation, committees sometimes pay special attention to the H-core publication as they represent the core contribution of a researcher or a journal. So if you understand your H-core, it can also guide where you want to strengthen or diversify your future work. The next one is H-median. H-median is the median number of citations within the H-core. In previous example, with H-core of citation count like 17, 9, and 6, the H-median is simply 9. This provides an additional measure of central tendency for influential publications. Google Scholar also reports H5 index, H5 core, and H5 median. They restrict the calculation to articles published in the last 5 complete years. These H5 measures are often used to compare recent performance of journals and conferences. They can be particularly useful when you want to know how active and influential a venue has been in the recent past rather than over the entire history. The next metric is eigenfactor. Eigenfactor score is a journal-level metric, and this eigenfactor evaluates the overall importance of a journal to the scientific community. This eigenfactor considers the number of times articles from a journal published in the past 5 years are cited in the current journal citation report year. Unlike impact factor, eigenfactor accounts for the network structure of citation. It means citation from highly influential journals contribute more to the score. It means who cited you, right? The scores are scaled so that the sum of eigenfactor scores across all journals in JCR equals to 100. So this gives a sense of each journal's share in the citation economy of science. In addition to the raw eigenfactor score, the platform often provides article influence score or AI. Both metrics rely on Web of Science citation data and capture long-term prestige rather than short-term spikes. So AI is equal to journal eigenfactor score divided by published articles, eigenfactor tends to favor journals that are central in the citation network, even if their impact factor is moderate. As an author, you can look at eigenfactor when you want to understand whether a journal is key hub within your discipline. However, you should remember that some new and emerging journals might not yet have high eigenfactor scores, but they can still be excellent venues, especially in fast-moving fields. So the article influence score is closely related to eigenfactor but normalized per article. In this AI reflects the average influence of each article in a journal over the first 5 years after publication. For example, if a journal has an article influence score of like 28.9, each article in that journal has on average nearly 29 times the influence of an article in the average JCR journals. This helps distinguish between journals that publish a few very influential papers and those with more consistently influential output. Again, I should emphasize that this metric should be used in combination with others, not in isolation. Citation metrics can differ across databases such as Google Scholar, Web of Science, and Scopus. Each index covers a different set of journals, conferences, and sometimes even books or theses. So the citation counts and its indices may not match. For example, Google Scholar is broader. You can see it's bigger here because they consider more journals and they usually give higher citation counts. But Web of Science and Scopus are more curated. When evaluating impact for yourself or for a venue, you should always specify which database you are using. It's a good practice to cross-check metrics and to understand that they are approximations, not absolute trust. So let's see one of journals in JCR. So if you go to this web address, you will be in this website, JCR by Clarivate. For example, I'm gonna search for IEEE transactions on intelligent transportation systems, right? So if I can see the journal name here, it means it is already indexed, right? Then, okay, we come here and we see JCR year out 2024. For 2025, you can see the data after June 2026. Then you can see here ISSN, EISSN. This is abbreviation, and that one. This is SCIE. Up to 2020, we had something like SCI, but that has been removed, and all journals in this index are SCIE. Then the category, like you can see here, English region is US, and these are the IEEE publisher addresses. So you can see here, this is the journal impact factor, 8.4. You can see the other metrics as well here. Then you can see like journal citation indicator, total citation, citation distribution, and the other things here. This one is about percentile, right? So in 2024, the journal out of 184 journals, it stands at the fifth journal, right? So 5 out of 184, it means it is in top 2.4%. And up to 25%, we call it as Q1, right? So this is for civil engineering, this is for electrical engineering, and you can see here the other is for transportation, that is also Q1 91%, right? You can see the other metrics here as well. Self-citation occurs when authors cite their own previous work or when a journal frequently cites its own article. Self-citation can be for one author or for one journal. Some journals, when you submit a paper to them, they ask you to cite their own published papers. This is called as self-citation. A moderate level of self-citation is normal and sometimes necessary because when you want to submit a paper, if you cite 2, 3 papers, it's normal because you want to prove that your paper falls into their scope. When a study built directly on earlier paper, also we have to cite that one. However, excessive self-citation at the author or journal level can artificially inflate metrics and it is often viewed negatively. Some ranking systems know discount or flag excessive self-citation. As a researcher, aim to cite your own work only when it is genuinely relevant and necessary. Don't cite your papers again and again. Citation stacking refers to patterns where certain journals or authors disproportionately cite one another in order to artificially boost citation metrics. You cite my paper, I will cite your paper. This is what is called as citation stacking. Typically, there is a donor journal and a recipient journal. And, in this case, they engage in a citation exchange that does not reflect genuine scholarly influence. Such practices undermine the credibility of metrics and have been criticized by indexing services. In extreme cases, journals can be sanctioned or removed from ranking lists. As an author, you should be aware of this issue and you should avoid participating in any unethical citation schemes. So in here, we can see the summary of several key journal metrics. The 5-year impact factor looks at citation to papers published over the previous 5 years, and this metric provides a more stable measure compared to the 2-year impact factor. Then we have immediacy index. This shows how quickly articles in journal begin to be cited in the same year they are published. SJR weighs citations by the prestige of the citing journals, and SNIP, this normalized impact across disciplines, and this makes cross-field comparison more meaningful. So HNDX is an article level aggregation that can be applied to journal authors and institutions. The next topic is usage metrics. Usage metrics measure how often people access your article, not cite your article, typically through full text downloads or views. This is like social media. Traditional indicators include the number of PDF or HTML downloads and usage per article. Sometimes they can be combined with cost per download for libraries. Web-based metrics also include page view, click count, how many times it has been clicked on, and time spent on the article page. These metrics capture interest and reach beyond formal citation, especially for newly published work or practice-oriented papers. However, high downloads do not always translate into high scholarly impact, so they should be interpreted alongside citation and Altmetrics data. Usage data can be influenced by many external factors. For example, how you define usage, whether you count only full text downloads or include abstract view. This definition can significantly change the numbers. Web crawlers and bots may generate artificial spikes, and not all platforms filter them perfectly. Geographic differences in the internet access, university subscription, and platform design also affect usage patterns. Journals hosted on multiple platforms may have fragmented statistics and also may have promotional activities or even self-usage. They can temporarily inflate numbers. And also another point is open access. Open access usually increases usage, but part of that effect is again due to crawlers. Therefore, usage metrics must be handled with methodological care. Here, we summarize the different dimensions of impact that can be measured. Citation metrics include impact factor, SNIP, HNDX, and eigen factor. They capture different aspects of scholarly reuse. Usage metrics and web metrics reflect downloads, page view, and user behavior on journal platforms. Alt metrics add a layer of social and public attention based on likes, tweets, blog posts, and other online signals. In addition, qualitative assessment. What is qualitative assessment? For example, author survey, peer review, submission statistics, and even network analysis. These can enrich our understanding. So the key message is that no single number can fully capture research quality. Quality of your research cannot be measured by a single number. Instead, we should use a basket of indicators plus expert judgment. In my own understanding, you must read a paper, then you can understand how good or bad it is. So far, we checked the journal. The next one is conference, because we can publish our papers in conferences as well. What is a conference? Conference is a gathering. And in conferences, researchers present their latest work. They can exchange ideas or they can build collaboration. Typically, we must pay a registration fee in order to attend a conference. What is this registration fee? This is the money that can cover participation, materials, and sometimes they provide meals and proceedings. Conference papers often present research or even ongoing work can be published in a conference, and they can be peer-reviewed, although review depth can vary depending on the conferences. Top conferences where they receive a lot of papers, the peer review will be very restricted. But low-level conferences where they receive less number of papers, maybe the review is not that much strict. In many fields, for example, like in computer science and engineering, top conferences like ICC, they are considered as prestige or even more prestige than journals. Publishing in type conferences like ICC or Infocom or Globocom is sometimes more difficult compared to publishing even in IEEE journals. Conference proceedings collects the accepted papers, and they are sometimes indexed in major databases, and they can contribute to your publication record. When a paper is accepted for a conference, can be presented orally or can be presented as a poster. One common conference format is poster. Often, you should submit a 1 to 2-page extended abstract that is reviewed, and if accepted, then you prepare a longer poster summarizing your work visually, as you can see one example here. A good poster combines concise text, clear figures, and an engaging layout of your work to communicate your main message quickly. During the poster session, you stand by your poster, present the work informally, and answer questions for participants. And in oral, you have to present it as a speech and they will ask you questions at the end. Conferences typically distinguish between short papers and full papers. Short papers are normally 2 to 4 pages and they usually present a narrower contribution. For example, pilot study, novel idea, or limited experiment that does not yet justify a full-length treatment. Then we have full papers like 6 page, 8 page, or 10 page. They are expected to contain a complete, well-validated study with methodology, results, and discussion. Acceptance of full paper is generally more competitive and they often carry more weight in evaluation. When you want to submit your paper for conferences, you should decide which format best fit the maturity and scope of your work, and you have to carefully follow the conference-specific guidelines. Conferences are also like journals, they have ranking and metrics. One of them is H5 index. H5 index for a conference is the H index computed over article published in the last 5 years. Often, this is reported in Google Scholar's top publication for different disciplines. Some national systems, like Australian ERA ranking, they categorize conferences into classes like A star, or C, or B, based on impact, selectivity, and reputation. This kind of ranking can influence how your conference papers are valued by universities and funding bodies. So when you want to select a conference, it is wise to check both the technical scope and its ranking in order to make sure that the venue fits your strategic goals. Other ranking systems include Brazil's Qualis and Core Ranking. Qualis group conferences into performance classes like A1 best and B5 as the last one, based on largely on H index percentiles. Then we have core. This score, widely used in Australia and beyond, this score combines citation rates, submission, and also acceptance statistics. And also, they track record of the organizing community to classify conferences like A star, A, B, and C. This kind of rankings provide context about a conference visibility and selectivity, but they are not perfect and sometimes they lag behind rapidly evolving fields. We can use them as one piece of evidence, how combined with our own knowledge and the advice of mentors, seniors, professors, etc. Like journal finders, we have also some website for conference finders that you can see here. Finding a suitable conference can be simplified using these conference directories and ranking websites, especially for computer science and communication. Websites like this Guide to Research, they list top conferences by area and often provide information on ranking, deadline, and indexing. You can search by topics such as networking, AI, data science. What is your field in there? Then they can identify venues aligned with your work. It is useful to build a personal list of core conferences in your subfield and regularly check their call for papers. But as I said, it's better you talk with your professor, your supervisor, your friend, and after 1 or 2 3 years, you will be aware of top conferences. Then you can submit to them every year. The next venue is seminars. Seminar is usually a smaller, often more informal event compared to conferences, and they can be frequently held within a single department or a university. Unlike large conferences, seminars may not require formal proceeding or peer review submission. They are excellent venues to test new ideas, you can present early work, or you can share conceptual framework that you are not fully confident about it. Because the audience in seminar is smaller and often familiar, feedback that you can receive from seminars can be more detailed and interactive. For students, giving seminar talk is a very good way to practice presentation skills and receive constructive suggestions before submitting to large venues. The next one is symposium. Symposium is a meeting that is dedicated to particular subject or theme, and these symposiums are often with higher level of focus and sometimes prestige. Symposium may be standalone or it can be a part of a large conference. Typically, symposium collect a series of papers or even talks from different contributors around a tightly defined topic. Compared to general conferences, symposium are often smaller, but they are more specialized and they allow deeper technical discussion. So we can publish in a well-regarded symposium and it can help us to position our work within a very targeted research community. The last one is a workshop. A workshop is usually even more topically focused and hands-on compared to conferences. Workshops are accompany a major conference and they can be organized independently. So they can be with a conference or independent and they can be around a specific emerging theme. These workshops are ideal for presenting early stage research, exploratory ideas, or niche topics that might not yet fit mainstream conferences. The atmosphere in conferences is often more interactive and discussion oriented, and this is very helpful for brainstorming and networking. For young fields, like for example, this sub area is in AI or IoT, workshops often become the seedbed of future conference and special issues. So workshop typically accept two main type of papers, position papers and research paper. What's a position paper? A position paper is usually very short and expresses a clear opinion, vision, or stance on a specific issue related to the workshop topic. This position paper may not contain extensive experiments, but should be thought-provoking and well argued. On the other hand, we have research paper for workshop. They are closer to a conference paper, but usually with a lower threshold for novelty and completeness. They can present initial results, partial system, or one ongoing work. So publishing at workshop, they can help us to receive early feedback, and via that, we can build a track record in a new topic before targeting a major conference or a journal. Okay, in conclusion, we as researchers have multiple publication venues, journals, conferences, symposia, workshop, and many more. And how to select the best one is a very important topic. As I said, if you have a good paper and submit it to low venue, you sacrifice your work. If you submitted low quality paper to high prestige venue, then you waste your time. So we have to decide and we have to talk with our professors and friends to make the best decision. While metrics such as impact factor, SJR, HNDX, and Altmetrics, they are helpful, they should be combined with scientific judgment, ethical behavior, and awareness of community norms. You should think about your own project and ask this question to yourself. Given the maturity and scope of my work, where should I publish first? Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to ask me if you have any questions, and see you in the next lecture.